We were sprawled on the couch, half watching some mindless reality TV show. I was ready to call it a night and leaned over to kiss my girlfriend, Sarah. "Good night," I said. As usual, I told her I loved her just like every night. But this time she didn't say it back. Instead, her face took on this strange, intense expression. She grabbed the remote, silenced the TV, and turned to me. My stomach churned. This wasn't going to be a casual chat about tomorrow's dinner plans. Her eyes locked onto mine and she said, "I care about you, Jake. I really do, but I'm not in love with you." Her words just lingered there heavy. It felt like a sucker punch, but a weirdly precise one. This wasn't a breakup. It was a demotion, a downgrade. She was laying out new terms for our relationship, expecting me to just nod and accept them like a software update. I'm a data analyst. My days are spent untangling complex systems, spotting inefficiencies, and making sense of chaos. My brain doesn't handle vague emotional messes well, so I processed her statement like data. She cares about me, she's not in love with me. "Noted," I said after a pause. "Thanks for being clear." That was it. No shouting, no demands for explanations, no pleading for her to change her mind. I just gave a curt nod, got up, and headed to bed. I could feel her eyes boring into my back as I left the room. She was waiting for a meltdown, for me to beg or bargain to reclaim her love. She expected me to scramble for a promotion I didn't even know I'd lost. She got nothing, just calm, quiet acceptance. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a notification from a group chat with her friends, one she'd once shown me on the shared tablet in the living room, still logged in. I didn't need to check it to know what was happening. She was debriefing her squad, her emotional board of directors. I heard her slip into the bedroom a few minutes later, assuming I was asleep. The mattress dipped as she climbed in, and the faint glow of her phone lit up her face. I could hear the soft tap-tap-tap of her typing. Her friends were probably praising her, calling her bold and honest for speaking her truth instead of just ending things. They were likely cheering her for inventing this clever new relationship dynamic. A setup where she kept all the perks of my stability, my apartment, my paycheck, without the hassle of being in love. She thought she'd outsmarted the system. She didn't realize she'd just triggered a kill switch. She downgraded me from partner to housemate, and I was about to become the most efficient, detached, and emotionally unavailable housemate she'd ever had. The game was on. She set the rules. I was going to follow them with ruthless precision. It's been a week since Sarah's bold declaration. A week of what she probably thinks is me maturely processing my emotions. In reality, it's been the rollout of what I'm calling the housemate protocol. Thanks for the feedback on my last post. Some of you suggested I just kick her out. That's not my approach. That's messy, emotional drama. I prefer a calculated, silent unraveling. It's far more effective. The protocol kicked off the morning after her bombshell. I woke up at my usual time. Normally, I'd lean over, kiss her, and say good morning. Not anymore. I got up, went to the kitchen, and brewed a pot of coffee. I poured myself a cup and dumped the rest into a thermos for work. I left the empty pot on the counter. The guy who made her coffee every morning was in love with her. That guy's gone, the housemate who shares the kitchen, he doesn't. I got ready for work and left with a casual, "Have a good one," thrown over my shoulder. No kiss. No, "I love you." Just polite, professional courtesy, like I'd give a coworker sharing my office space. For the first few days, she seemed thrilled. She was chipper, almost relieved. She had her freedom, no pressure. She'd successfully friend-zoned her live-in boyfriend while keeping the apartment and the lifestyle. She thought she'd won. Then the little things started piling up. On Friday, she texted me in the afternoon. "Hey, me and the girls want to try that new Italian spot tonight. Can you reserve a table for 8? This was routine. I was the organizer, reservations, tickets, travel plans, all me. I replied a few minutes later. "Sorry, tied up tonight. You should call them yourself. They book up fast." Her response was a single. I didn't reply. I was at the gym, a new evening habit I'd picked up with my newfound free time. That weekend, the protocol went full throttle. I did my laundry, only mine. I went grocery shopping and bought food for myself. Steaks, chicken, stuff for my lunches. No snacks she loves, no gluten-free bread, no overpriced oat milk she insists on. I came home, stashed my groceries on my designated shelves in the fridge and pantry, and started prepping my meals for the week. She wandered into the kitchen, puzzled. "You went shopping?" she asked. "Yup," I said, not looking up from the chicken I was cutting. "You didn't get any of my stuff," she said, her tone sharp, more accusation than question. "Oh, my bad," I said, with the detached politeness of someone who bumped into you at the store. I just got what was on my list. I can send you a pic of the receipt so you know you're half of the shared stuff, like dish soap. Her face was a mix of shock and indignation. In 2 years, I'd never once asked her to split groceries, but the guy who covered her shopping was in love with her. The housemate just splits the bill. The cracks really showed on Sunday. Her car had been making a strange, clunking noise for days. She'd mentioned it, clearly expecting me to take care of it. That afternoon, she strolled into my home office. "My car's acting weird again," she said, leaning against the doorway. "You should check it out. I don't want to get scammed by a mechanic." I spun my chair to face her. "That sounds frustrating," I said, my voice dripping with neutral sympathy. "It's smart to shop around for quotes before committing to repairs. Try Yelp for trustworthy shops nearby." Then I turned back to my computer. She stood there, silent, for a full minute. I could feel her staring, trying to process what was happening. The guy who'd spent his Sunday tinkering with her car, who had a mechanic on speed dial, was in love with her. The housemate had plans. She huffed and stormed off. "I'm not being a jerk. I'm being literal. She said she cares about me, so I'm treating her like someone I care about, a friend, a housemate. I'd give a friend tips on finding a mechanic. I wouldn't spend my weekend fixing their car. The currency of a loving relationship, the favors, the thoughtful gestures, the quiet support, is no longer in play. She devalued our emotional bond to zero, and I'm adjusting our household economy to match. She's starting to see that her honest declaration didn't just free her from loving me. It freed me from the duties of loving her. And she's realizing how much she took those duties for granted. The silence in the apartment is growing heavier. She keeps trying to spark conversations, fishing for an emotional reaction. She gets nothing but friendly, detached courtesy. She thought she'd just removed love from the equation. Now she's suspecting she might have emptied the whole table. Update 2, it's been a month since Sarah put our relationship on notice. A month of the housemate protocol, and her system is starting to crash spectacularly. What she thought was a savvy move has become a slow, painful self-sabotage. My politeness, which she initially found refreshing, is now her personal hell. It's a steady, unbreakable barrier. No gaps, no weak spots for her to exploit. I'm relentlessly, cheerfully, crushingly neutral. Her birthday was 2 weeks ago, the first big test of the new dynamic. In the past, I'd have spent weeks planning a surprise party, a getaway, or a thoughtful, pricey gift. This year I woke up, saw she was awake, and said, "Happy birthday, Sarah, hope it's a good one." Then I got up and started my day. She stayed in bed, staring at me, disbelief etched on her face. She was waiting for the big reveal, the surprise breakfast, the flowers, the hint of a fancy dinner. Nothing came. She wandered into the kitchen while I was blending my protein shake. "So," she said, forcing a casual tone, "any plans for my birthday?" "Me?" I asked, turning to her. "Nah, just work in the gym. You got something lined up?" "I thought maybe we'd do something," she faltered. "Oh," I said, with a look of mild realization. "I figured you'd be out with your close friends. I'm cool grabbing a burger and watching a movie tonight if you want, like we sometimes do." As buddies, the word buddies was a surgical strike, using her own logic against her. Lavish birthday plans are for lovers. Friends get a casual burger offer. She spent her birthday night at home, scrolling her phone on the couch while I worked on my laptop beside her. The silence was deafening. Her friends, the ones who called her brave, posted "Happy Birthday, Queen" online but didn't actually make plans with her. The financial side of the protocol is hitting hard too. Turns out the boyfriend experience included a lot of quiet financial support she never noticed. I used to cover our dates, trips, her car insurance, her phone bill. It was part of our shared life. Now that life's over, her phone got cut off last week. She came to me in a panic. I just looked at her and said, "Oh, yeah, I removed my card from the shared plan since we're not really a unit anymore. You'll need to set up your own account." Her face went white. She doesn't have a steady job, just some freelance design gigs that barely fund her shopping sprees. She'd been living off a guy who loved her. Now she's just a housemate behind on her bills. She started trying to provoke me, desperate to get the old me back, even an angry version. She leaves messes for me to clean. I stack her stuff neatly on her side of the room. She blasts sad music in the living room. I pop on noise-canceling headphones. Last night was her boldest move yet. She came home from a night out, a little tipsy, wearing one of my old tees and nothing else like she used to when she wanted to feel close. She sat on the bed's edge and started crying. "I miss you," she said, voice thick. "I miss what we had." I set my book down and looked at her with the mild concern you'd show a neighbor whose cat went missing. "That sounds rough, Sarah," I said. It's been a big month of changes. Have you thought about seeing a counselor? It can help to talk through these feelings with someone neutral. I delivered the line with perfect clinical detachment, a verbal pat on the head. I took her emotional plea and responded like a customer service rep suggesting a doctor for a broken arm. Correct, helpful, and utterly devoid of the intimacy she craved. Her tears stopped. She stared at me, eyes wide with growing dread. She was finally getting it. She wasn't dealing with a heartbroken guy lashing out. She was facing a system running exactly as programmed. She set the rules, and the result was this cold, sterile void. She thought she was being bold and truthful. Now she's realizing she was just reckless. The panic is setting in. The silence is louder than her words ever were. And the final crash is coming. Final update, it's done. The housemate protocol hit its inevitable end last night in a blaze of clarity, or rather, a quiet, soul-crushing collapse. The last 2 weeks have been a steady spiral into desperation for Sarah. The apartment, once her playground, is now her cage. A tidy, quiet, well-kept cage where her housemate is unfailingly polite, and the silence reminds her of everything she's lost. She tried everything to break me: tears, anger, seduction, guilt. Nothing worked. I was a blank slate, a friendly, unyielding wall of indifference. The breaking point came, as I expected, over money and the future. Our lease is up at the end of next month. A few days ago, the renewal notice arrived from the landlord. I left it on the kitchen counter for her to see. Last night, I got home from the gym to find her at the kitchen table, staring at the lease form. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. "We need to talk about this," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Sure," I said, setting my gym bag down. "What's up?" "Are we renewing the lease?" she asked. "I'm not," I said calmly. Her face went pale. "What, you're not? Where are we going to live?" "I don't know where you're going to live, Sarah," I said, keeping my tone even and pleasant. "But I've signed a lease on a new place. A 1-bedroom closer to my job. I move in on the 1st. Her eyes showed her world crumbling. This wasn't just a cold shoulder anymore, it was an eviction. I'd made plans for my future, and she wasn't in them. "You're leaving me?" she stammered, the words sounding absurd even to her. "Leaving you?" I said, feigning surprise. "No, our living arrangement is just ending. We're housemates, right? And the lease is up. Housemates don't usually sign new leases together when one moves out. I found a place that works for me. I figured you'd do the same." That's when she shattered. The tears, the rage, the carefully crafted victim act, it all spilled out. "This isn't fair," she yelled, shoving her chair back with a screech. "You're being cruel, you're punishing me. I said I messed up. I said I missed you." "No, you didn't," I corrected, my voice steady. "You said you missed me. You never said you loved me, but that's not the point. You told me clearly you weren't in love with me. I took you at your word. I adjusted my life to fit that. I'm not punishing you, Sarah. I'm respecting your truth. But I want things back the way they were," she sobbed. "I'm sure you do," I said, a slight edge creeping into my voice. "You want the guy who loved you, who cooked for you, planned surprises, paid your bills, took care of you. You want that back, but without giving him the one thing he needed, your love in return. You wanted a fantasy, Sarah, a devoted partner who asks for nothing. That's not a relationship, that's a service contract. And I'm no longer your provider." I let that sink in. She stared at me, finally understanding. This wasn't a game. This was a full, irreversible shutdown. Then, for the final blow, I walked to the counter and picked up a small velvet box that had arrived that afternoon. Her eyes lit up with a desperate, fleeting hope. Even now, she thought this might be it, the grand gesture, proof I still loved her. She watched, breathless, as I opened the box. It wasn't a ring. It was a key. A single, shiny new key on a plain metal ring. "This is the key to my new place," I said, holding it up. "I'm stoked about it. Great view." The hope in her eyes vanished, replaced by a look of utter defeat so raw it was almost hard to witness. Almost, she'd bet everything on the idea that my love was an endless resource she could toggle on and off. She just learned it came with one simple condition. It had to be mutual. She didn't say another word. She sank back into her chair, staring at the lease renewal, a problem that was now hers alone. I left her there and went to my office to work. The silence in the apartment wasn't heavy anymore. It was just empty. I've got 30 days left as her housemate. Then I'm free. She got exactly what she said she wanted, a life with a man who isn't in love with her. I don't think she ever imagined that man would be me, walking out the door to a life she'll never be part of.